All right, guys, I'm back here with part 2 of our posing series. Here with Joseph again. He's going to be teaching me another pose. What are we going to be working on today, Joseph?
So today, since we went over our quarter turns and our standing relax, we are going to be starting our introduction with the front lat spread. Basically, what we're going to do is each posing series video, I'm going to run you through all 8 mandatory poses, and we're just going to do them as if we were in a show. So the way we're breaking it down is we're starting with the front lat spread. Next video will be the front double Vi, and so forth.
Cool.
So now let's kind of recap what we talked about last time, right? So we went through all of our quarter turns, standing relaxed, right quarter turn, standing relaxed rear, left quarter turn, and back to front. Now with that being said, once you complete your quarter turns, we work into our first mandatory pose, which generally is our front lat spread. Front lat spread is very similar to your front standing relaxed. The only difference is there's a little bit more rib cage lift, chin lift, and a little bit more opening up of the lats and pressing the elbows and shoulders forward.
Okay.
Basically, opening up that scapula, right?
Real fast, show me, make sure I got my...
Yeah, let's go ahead and recap. I want to see your, so that way we can work into our front lat spread. So remember, everything's building from the bottom up, right?
Okay.
Start at those toes. Great. Remember, toes outward a little bit more.
All right.
There we go. Build from the knees onto the hips, right? Pull up through that rib cage. Open up, set the shoulders on the lats. Remember, the elbows are going to come forward a little bit, so just rotate them forward this way. Bring the hands in a little bit right there. You look good. Very, very good standing relax. You grasped it very well, Adam. So, now that we have our front relax right here, this is basically our setup for our front lat spread. So go ahead and relax for a moment for me. Now, I'm going to generate and demonstrate my standing relax. So again, we always build upright. So when we're doing our standing relax here, we set, this is our standing relax, right? So chin's up, chest is up, everything's pulled up, flat stomach, right? Now from here, they're going to call front lat spread. We're going to do it simple. You can always get a little flashy if you want to, and kind of put the toe outward and pull in, but just for sake purpose of learning the pose, we're going to stay inside of our square box that I spoke about in our first video.
Okay. So
knuckles are over that imaginary line. We're building up. Let's just say they called front lat spread. I'm in my standing relax. Judge says front lat spread. So from here, I'm literally keeping the bottom portion of my body tight because it's already locked in, right? I shouldn't really have to mess with it. I'm just going to kind of feel down here, make sure everything's locked in, and then I'm going to kind of lean slightly forward, and I'm going to pretend this is just for the flash, right? We're drawing those eyes to us, right? As I've said before. Because generally, if I wanted to go into a front lat spread from here, I could just do this. But it doesn't pull those eyes towards you. So we're going from here, and I like to reach out, pull back as if I'm doing a nice cable row or a seated row, right?
All right.
And what I'm doing here is I'm engaging the back, and what this allows me to do is it allows me to feel my traps, my rhomboids, and my lats squeeze, so that way, as I bring them through and I open up, I can feel them open up, right? That's the whole reason for this. So I pull, and then I'm going to set my thumbs as if I'm digging in, and I'm actually going to roll them forward onto my obliques right here, right? And then as I do that, I'm literally going to push my shoulder and my elbow forward. Now, not so much forward that I'm concaving, just forward enough that I'm opening up my scapula, right? And if you have good scapular retraction, it shouldn't be an issue. This is where we see a lot of guys run into issues because generally they don't stretch and pull, right? You see a lot of guys doing their rows real short, and what that does is that causes them not to be able to open up, right? Because they're so tight, so they can't open. So again, we're set, pulling right above the obliques, thumbs. I'm rolling and I'm lifting at the same time, pulling that vacuum, and I'm just pushing my elbows forward and opening up my lats.
Nice, okay. Yeah, show that to us all put together real quick here from that front relax.
So we're here, we're set,
And the judge would be
front relax.
front lat spread. Nice. Okay. And real quick, hit that one more time, but from the other, turn around so that if camera can see there.
And this will be from the front, so generally you're not going to see as much definition in my back.
Okay.
But
just
here,
so they can kind of see that row part, because I'm not really seeing that activate.
This is where here I'm rolling. So see, as I pull, I'm driving the shoulders down, I'm pulling back, and then I'm opening.
Nice. Okay. Nice.
So let me see you kind of go through it. Build yourself up. First thing I want you to do is get into your standing relax.
All right. So toes pointed out on the outside of my feet, kind of, right? A little bit on my balls, my toes.
Yes, sir. Drive them away from one another. Keeping everything nice and tight. Get into standing relax, hips open. Good, good, right there. So now, what I'm going to literally have you do, just bring your arm in and set it on your oblique. And then drive your elbows forward a little bit. See that?
Okay, yeah.
See that? And that's it. That's your front lat spread. You see that? And just push up as much as you can right there. That's it. So you see how similar it is to standing relax?
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to start with this pose, because it's so similar to your standing relax that it shouldn't be too hard to grasp. The fact of the matter is, too, you have very good body control. Most guys don't have that ability. What that tells me is that your training is actually very spot on and you're working through your back motions the way that you should.
Okay.
You know, because generally what happens is, as I was explaining before, guys shorten up their back movements a lot and they cause a lot of tightness in the back, and it makes it really hard for them, even in their rear poses, right? So like even if they do like a rear lat spread, it makes it real hard for them to open up because they're so used to being pinched that when they try to open, it literally like stops. Right?
Okay.
So that's a good thing. I'm really, really impressed to see that. So
let me try putting it together with a row now.
Yeah, that's exactly what I want you to do. I want you to go through it. I'm going to call it out. So get in your standing relax.
Okay.
Pull that tummy in a little more. Right there. Front lat spread. Pull it back. Now open up, open up, open up, open up, open up. Lift that chin. Right there. Keep those legs tight. There they are. And relax.
Dude, it's harder to remember to keep everything tight.
Yes, yes. And then, of course, we train legs today, so we have a little bit of a breath control issue going on, right? But that's totally fine. That was a beautiful front lat spread, by the way. So, one of the things that you really want to keep in mind when we're getting into that front lat spread is, as we open up, one of the things that we really want to avoid doing, which I see a lot of, try not to flex your chest too much.
Okay.
Right? Remember how I was talking about that in the standing relax? Right? When I say you see guys flex their chest and it makes them do this, it'll happen the same thing in the front lat spread. If you come here and you flex your chest too much, it does two things. It makes you look a little narrow, right? And it doesn't let you like push your shoulders down and open up that griddle. So this is the difference between the two, right? So if I'm like, I'm gonna do it like with my chest flex, for example.
Okay,
see that?
yeah, a little less wide.
And it pulls my chest up like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to if I'm here and I'm not going to really flex this.
Wow. Yeah, that's a big difference there.
See, and it makes me so much wider. And the thing is I'm still flexing it enough to where it's lifting, right? I'm just not pinching it tight to where it pulls it so far up and makes me narrow. Now, again, this is all individualized, right? So one of the things that I want you to be very mindful of what works for me may not necessarily work for you. We have different body structures, but again, I always say there's generalities, right? So like generally, it should look like this. You're going to find what works for you and tweak it a little bit better to your physique, right? Because the whole thing about posing is you are trying to hide your flaws. That is what you're trying to do. When you're on stage and you're going through these poses, you are trying to show your best attributes while hiding your worst attributes, right?
Okay.
So that's why you'll see guys, for example, right? And that's how come front lat spread and front double bicep are the two most revealing poses, right? So those two poses are automatically going to show any flaw that you have, you know? So like, for example, if I'm in my front lat spread, what that's going to expose and weaknesses on me, I don't have the best arms, right? So like arms for me are a weak point. Upper chest and chest thickness is a little bit of a weak point for me, right? Now, what I'm trying to do, and that's how come I say I don't flex my chest, because I'm already a narrow guy, right? So for me to do this and open up, as long as I keep this slightly flexed, but I keep my shoulder girdle down, it gives me the illusion that I'm wider than I am. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because if I did this, it's going to show that I have narrow clavicles, my chest isn't as developed, and my arms are pretty thin in terms of what they should be when it talks about balance and symmetry, right? And even worse with the front double bicep. I'm just going to do a demonstration here, but see, like when I come up and if I hit my front double bicep and I open right away, you can see I lose a lot of chest, right? Lats are okay, you know, but biceps aren't the greatest, but you see what I mean? How it exposes flaws immediately.
Okay.
So what we're trying to do as we learn these poses is to make it accustomed to your body, right? So let me hit your front lat spread. I want to look at you and let's see if we can make some slight adjustments to make it look as optimal for your body.
Okay, let's see here.
Not too much chest tightness. There. Feel that? Front lat spread. So just open up the chest, open up the lats and leave the chest a little bit flat. Good. So I want you to point your toes out a little bit more. And relax. That's beautiful, Adam. Honestly, I really don't have any adjustments to make. You're hitting it great, dude. Like you really are.
So how, I meant to ask you this last time, how, I hear some things about like you shouldn't be flexing at 100%. Is that true, or is it?
So yes and no, okay? So the reason why they say that is because when you're that dehydrated and that depleted, like remember I was telling you, I kind of fucked up my quad because I squeezed it so fucking tight, right? So that's what they mean. Generally, like I'm so depleted that if I pose too damn hard, I can run the risk of a minute tear. Like for example, Martin Fritzwater, when he was at the Prague Pro this last year when he beat Chris Bumstead, they said they saw him start sweating on stage, like kind of profusely during pre-judging. And he said, when I was out there, he said I was hitting a rear double bicep, he said, and I was squeezing so hard and I popped my hamstring.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? He said, so I had like a micro tear in my hamstring, which caused him to start sweating and freaking out, you know? So yes, you shouldn't be squeezing so hard that you're like shaking, right? Because that's another thing, right? That's what happens when we do 101%. Like if I come down and I'm squeezing as hard as I can, I'm going to start shaking, right? What that does is it kind of shows unconditioned in a sense, right?
Okay.
Because the judge is going to look at you and be like, why is he shaking? You should have control, right? So I would say when you are posing, around 95%, right? But the thing is you're probably going to be posing at 100% anyways, especially when you're on stage. And I explained that to you last time. When you're hyped up, dude, you don't realize how hard you're squeezing, right? So when I say that, there's really no reason to like mentally squeeze harder. Does that make sense? Like, you don't want to be on stage and be like, well, I'm not flexing hard enough. I better flex even harder. Because that's exactly what I did, right? Like, I was like, they were like abdominal and thigh. And I came in and I hit my abs and I posed it. And I thought, squeeze. And I like really ramped down on my leg and I felt it pop.
Wow.
You know? And then I was like, oh shit. And literally for the rest of the show, I couldn't flex that right leg, you know? So that's where you want to find your balance of what you need to put into it and how much you need to pull back because you are depleted, right? And I've said this before. When you are on stage, you are at your weakest. You have the least amount of water in your body, the least amount of body fat. You know, you're carved up and full of food, right? So you're kind of like, and then you're sitting up there and you're posing and you're squeezing and you're, you know, so you really want to make sure that you are giving enough to show what you need to show, but you're not overdoing it where you're risking injury.
That makes sense. Even right there, whenever I was doing the front lats, like I could feel like almost a slight little cramp in the low part of my lat. So I can only imagine what it's like when you're depleted.
And that's why I say when we practice our posing, it's very imperative that we practice our posing up into the show, because that conditions our muscle to be ready for that marathon, basically, of posing that you're going to go through, right? And you want to do it leading up to the show, because as you're dieting and getting more depleted, you're running this practice so that way you do adapt to it, right? So often you see these guys who don't take posing as a priority, and they will do it maybe here and there, maybe after a workout, or they try to cram it in a few weeks before the show. So they're like, oh, I'm going to start my posing practice now, and they try to cram in 3 months of practice that they should have been doing, right, into 2 weeks. And generally, I say this all the time. Like, if you're a real bodybuilder, and I'm even guilty of this, right, you should be practicing your posing in the off season.
Okay.
Good bodybuilders practice their posing year-round, and they do their cardio year-round, right? It's not just, oh, I'm in prep, I better start practicing posing, I better start doing my cardio, better start taking my diet seriously. Like, no, it's a 100% thing all the time. Even if I'm fluffy and I don't look the way I want to look in the off season, I should be posing.
So you basically have to give just as much effort to the posing as you do to the training.
And okay, so I'm going to go on this and say, for example, when we were watching your Atomic Talk, right, you asked Will, what do you think it is? 90% training, 10% diet? It's 100% on each one of those.
Yeah.
That's the way I feel. I feel training has to be 100%, nutrition has to be 100%, cardio has to be 100%, posing has to be 100%. If all of these things are 100 and you're putting the effort into each one of those things, you're going to excel, right? It shouldn't be like, and that's the one thing I've always had a problem with, is people talking about, oh, it's 70% training and 30% diet. Nah, they are all completely separate things. Training's 100, diet's 100, cardio's 100, posing's 100.
Heck yeah, okay.
You know, that's what creates a good bodybuilder. That's what gets you to where you need to be. The ones that are doing that shit, you can tell.
So as the last part for this front lat spread, should we hit it together real quick?
Yes, we're going to actually, what I want to do now is I literally want to run. So like I said, we're going to run it as if we were in a competition. So what I want to do is I literally want to go through all of our quarter turns and then finish with our front lat spread.
All right, let's do it. Let's do it.
So we'll
I'll
set
watch
up here.
First here, actually.
Yeah, so what we'll do is I'll do mine, and then we'll do it together. So this is kind of a mock of what it should be. I would be standing relaxed, and would say quarter turn to your right. Quarter turn to your right.
Dude, your back's wild.
Quarter turn to your right. Quarter turn to your right. Front lat spread. Relax. And that's basically what it should look like.
I might have to have you critique me kind of as I go through this. But
I'm going to have you run it, and then we'll do it together.
All right.
Side by side. So I'll call your quarters. I'll adjust if I need. Lock down. Beautiful. You're set. Quarter turn to your right. Nice pivot. Slam them together. Take this hand a little bit lower right here and open it up. There you go. There you go. Perfect. Quarter turn to your right. Face the curtain. What I like to do here is I'll reach back and I'll even touch my hamstrings slightly just to make sure they're engaged.
All right.
Squeeze those glutes. Open up that back. There. Right there. See that change I made? How much it fucking made his back pop? Quarter turn to your right. Beautiful, Adam. Keep them tight, keep them tight. Lock everything in. Good, good. Twist your body towards me slightly. There, right there. You see that shit? How much it just made a difference? Quarter turn to your right, face front. Lock into your standing relax, and I'll call your front lat spread. Locked in. Front lat spread. Pull that row, keep those legs tight, right above the obliques. Open, 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 open. Good, good, good. Keep that chin high. Back to front relax. And relax. You see what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so then that's just general quarter turn and our front lat spread. So what will happen next time, then we'll go front lat spread, back to relax, front double bicep, back to relax. Then we'll do side chest, back to relax. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So as we work through each one of these, bro, you're going to get conditioned. You know, you really will. I think by the end of this series, you will find a new love for posing, a new respect for it, and I think it'll actually be something that you'll want to do more and more of, because you'll feel your body becoming more like conditioned, and you'll also be more aware of it, right?
Yeah, I can
And
picture
what's
the mind-muscle
beautiful about
connection
this
being better.
thing is, honestly, dude, it really translates into your training, right? So like when I'm bodybuilding training, for example, when I'm doing lat pull downs, I'm thinking about doing a front lat spread, right? So even though my hands are up here, right, I'm thinking of this. I'm thinking of pushing those lats forward, opening up as if I was in my standing relaxed and pulling with those lats. Right?
Nice, okay.
Or if I'm going to do a front double bicep, same thing. I'm doing a pull down, right? And then I'm letting it come halfway up and opening it, right? So all of these movements correlate to your posing, and they will help your training.
Nice.
So let's finish this up now,
All right.
and we'll go through together.
Cool.
So we'll set balls of the toes, nice tight calves, quads, turn those feet outward. We'll hit that standing relax, lift. Quarter turn to your right. Quarter turn to your right. Step it down. I'm going to feel those hamstrings just slightly, make sure they're engaged, make sure those glutes are engaged. Do that row. Remember, pull back with the elbows and then open up that back. Set it. Chin up nice and high. And this one, we're going to lean back a little more on than we normally would. Quarter turn to your right. Face the window a little bit, or the mirror. Turn slightly. Right there. Quarter turn to your right. And that front relax. We'll say locked in. Front lat spread. Back to standing relax. Pull it in. And set. And relax.
Okay, thank you,
Beautiful work,
Joseph. I
Adam.
appreciate you,
You did
bro.
great, my man. Next one will be coming up. Will be our front double bicep. So we'll be here. And that's
Sweet.
the next one we'll work on, my man.
Cool. If you want to contact Joseph for training, I'll put it in the description below, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.
You guys have a wonderful day.